oh, like Scheana is not being a great friend to you. If you would have watched this back, you would have seen that and we could have some type of resolution moving forward. But I think if you get to a place where a show or an environment is too toxic for you to even watch it and consume it, then that means that it's served its purpose. And I say that and I don't want her to not come back to the show. I love her and I don't want like Tom Sandoval to be the reason that she doesn't come back to Vanderpump Rules. But she's just thriving so hard off of the show. And I think she's going to continue to be on Broadway. And I want her to do things that fill her with joy. I don't want her to have to sit there and watch this toxic portion of her life play out. But I also don't know. I don't know what that means for New Jersey either, because it's like, even Dolores, I think, said on last night's episode that she didn't watch it back. So I'm like, we've just gotten to a place where they can't even ingest, their own work. So what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Yeah, I mean, I feel that I agree with all that about Ariana. Like, to me, it's like you're not letting Tom win if you walk away. You're actually letting yourself win. Because, like,
Yeah.
these other people have to go back and they have
Yeah.
to earn a paycheck by being in a toxic environment. And they don't have the same hate for Tom you do, but it's still a show where it's built on drama. Like, there's going to be some drama and they're going to fight. You win by, I mean, I don't know how much you got on Love Island. I can guarantee you, if you're paid very little for Chicago the first time, to get you back, you're not paid the same amount. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's all real. Like, so yes, I think it's hard to turn down money, but I feel that wouldn't your life just be so great if you weren't there? You would still make plenty of money and it would free up time to maybe get other opportunities.
Yeah. 100%.
But I can't tell if she will go back. I think that is part of what they were waiting for. I mean, granted, I don't think we're going to make a decision soon, but I just think like when she was on Love Island and doing all that, I feel like the show in a way I think is stalled because of her. Not in a good way or a bad way, but I think like but I also don't understand, like, if she is going to go back, then she too would have to speak to Tom. Like, we can't have the same show. Something
Yeah.
has to give. And what are we going to bring in two new people? Like, to your point, we already tried that with like Brett and
Yeah.
Max and Danica. That didn't work.
Yeah. And I know Lala got a lot of hate and heat last season, and I didn't necessarily like the way that she handled it either. But at the core, like her worry, I think, is valid. There is some validity to it. I think the issue that I had with it is that Lala's job is not to be a producer. And she's sitting in the reunion chair trying to produce the show. And it's like, Lala, that is not your job, and you're painting yourself as the villain trying to do that job. It's a producer's job to make sure that the show goes on and that they, have these conversations and these conversations. So I don't know. I just feel like what is production telling them behind the scenes? And we did hear, that they were kind of whispering, well, your guys' show is going to be canceled if something doesn't happen. So she's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But at the same time, you got to be super careful about the way you approach that, especially at this particular moment in time in the Bravo sphere with people really disliking Tom and really loving Ariana. And I just don't think she handled it the best way that she could.
I agree. I agree. And she even did double down on all this recently. I don't know if it was like last week or the before on her
Mhm.
podcast where she said like Ariana is affecting, the future of my unborn child. And of course the media takes that headline and runs with it. And
Mhm.
I mean, she really was saying the same thing that like you are like screwing with my bag. And like there is no show. We're not even close to a show. And mama needs the money. Now, I mean, granted, Lala does have other things. This podcast is highly rated that she does, and she has her brands. But yeah, I guess nothing will pay as much as actually going back to the show.
But how responsible is Ariana for an entire ensemble cast? That's another thing I think people don't like is that they're painting Ariana as this villain where it's like Ariana could easily, not return to the show. What happens if she decides not to return to the show? Are they automatically going to cancel it? Like, I don't think that they necessarily would right off the bat. Maybe, we'll have another season kind of like this season of Jersey where they try to figure out what to do. But, they are always so vocal about we're an ensemble cast, we're an ensemble cast. Well, one person doesn't dictate whether or not your show gets canceled or not.
No, I thought that if she doesn't come back, I thought it almost helped the show come back because then, like, I don't think she can come back and her and Tom not speak. Like, I don't think that's an option. I
Yeah.
think we did that. So I think if she came back and they spoke and somehow moved past this as she continues to win at life, that would be so interesting to me. But
Yeah.
if she doesn't come back, then yeah, do we have the exact same cast without her? To me, then we have a new villain, and I guess her name is Katie, because then everyone's going to be against Katie and
Hmm.
everyone's going to be loving Tom, and that would be somewhat interesting. I have been very vocal about if she doesn't come back, or even if she did come back, I think if you brought, it's not going to happen. But if Raquel came back, if Rachel came back, that
Yeah.
would just, I don't care if you hate her, that would be such an interesting thing to watch. It just
Oh,
would be.
100%.
And that to me would help the show. I think if you're going to not have Ariana back and we're going to get two newbies that have somehow no James in this one, you better find people that have a real connection to this group. And I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, especially at this point, because I feel like everybody would be a little bit of an opportunist. So none of it would really come across as
Yeah.
real and authentic. I think except for maybe Dana, who was previously on the show and, still does the podcast with Katie. I think that would make sense, but I don't think it would, save the ship.
I don't think so. And then I've always now there are rumors going around too that there's going to be, I mean, we already had this, but that there will be a whole new cast. That's, I think that rumor keeps circulating where like, I don't know if that's the answer though. I mean, we kind of just had that with Vanderpump Villa, different
Mhm.
show, but I mean, that came nowhere near Vanderpump Rules. So I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I did not love Vanderpump Villa. And even the news of Stassi, making her return on the show, it doesn't incentivize me to really watch it. I'm more interested in watching Stassi's solo show, the 30-minute like documentary style show. I'll watch that. But Stassi showing up to be a guest, it doesn't like do much for me.
Is that what it is? Is she a guest or is it like, do we know she's a guest? Because I thought it was going to be like Lisa's, like, you're all a bunch of morons and I need to call in the strongest person I've ever known in the restaurant business. And then it's
It
like,
might be.
that could be interesting. But yes, it's not a great, like, I thought Stassi would just come in and like crack the whip as like a mini Lisa and just be like, Lisa's the good one. And now you're really facing something here and just be a total meta bitch. Like, that would be great, I feel. But I think her half and yeah, I mean, look, it's good for Stassi. It's all good. Like, I think what a great thing. I always said she should come back to Vanderpump Rules. Like, that's how you could have saved the show. But I just think
Mhm.
she doesn't want to. I think that's how we got her on Vanderpump Villa. I think they're like, okay, well, we have another idea, and here it is. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And
not
I
such a bad life where you can turn down like basically the Valley and Vanderpump Rules and be like, okay,
right.
well, we have a show and we have your own show.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, a lot of the cast members of Vanderpump Rules right now, we're seeing and hearing that they would rather be on the Valley, because it almost seems at this point that the Valley feels more like Vanderpump Rules than Vanderpump Rules actually does. Cause you have Jackson Brittany, you have Kristen, you have Lala and Scheana popping up here and there. What I think is such a power move is Stassi doing a deal with Hulu.